Hello. Here is another serious video. I am a healthcare voter. And what I mean by that is simple. I vote in favor of the party, namely the Democrats, who's in favor of healthcare. Because it seems like the Republicans don't care about healthcare. Or maybe they just don't quite understand the benefits of universal healthcare coverage. Because the thing started way back in at least 2008, probably definitely sooner, because in the 90s Hillary Clinton tried to do universal healthcare coverage, but it didn't work then. I mean, it would have worked, but it didn't pass then. And then Obama was able to help pass it through Congress and Senate, and it worked. And there's been problems, at least in the reception of it, but for people who know the facts, then they'd realize that universal healthcare coverage is a good thing, a very good thing. And it's great that Obamacare became law, and it should be law, because everyone should have a right to healthcare and healthcare coverage. I mean, there's going to be an upcoming Supreme Court case. I believe it's California versus Texas, and they're going to decide whether or not the Universal Healthcare Act, actually it's the Affordable Care Act, but everyone just calls it Obamacare, because that was supposed to be a slur, but then it wasn't. Obama embraced it. In fact, I am embracing so many slurs, I should start calling myself a liberal hack. I should even change my official Twitter account to whatever it says right now, to simply "I'm a liberal hack." Thank you, Martha McSally, for a wonderful slogan I would love to enforce, because it seems like the liberals are the ones who are getting things done in this world, such as healthcare. I think I lost my train of thought somewhere in that sentence. Hopefully I don't have sentences longer than the first shot of 1917. And, anyways, so the Affordable Care Act is going to be brought to the Supreme Court again. All of the people who voted to keep it as a law last time, the justices that is, they're still on the court, all 5 of them. So if they vote the same way again, then Obamacare remains law. They're trying to see if it'll happen, if it can be enforced without the individual mandate. And if the law is taken away, that would be quite a terrible thing. And I don't think people quite understand or know what's going on. I mean, you hear stuff from them, but then, well, not from them, but I guess by them I mean Republicans, about supposed flaws, but some of what they say I just don't think is true or accurate. Because they complain about the supposed socialized medicine, but I don't think Republicans understand what socialism is. They just want to use it as a word they never define to complain about things. Do they ever say, this is socialism? What is socialism? They never say, ever. It's weird and dumb, really. But back to the Supreme Court case. This is going to be decided during the coronavirus pandemic, where they decide maybe people shouldn't have a right to health care. That maybe not everyone in this country should be covered by law. And that would be a horrible decision to make, but I guess there's lots of horrible decisions being made by courts recently. Like there's a stay-at-home order going on, and they're requiring the people in Wisconsin to vote you can't delay the election, even though tons of other states have delayed elections. And then there's people known for getting coronavirus because they actually went out and voted. And then the Wisconsin Supreme Court wants to get rid of stay-at-home orders, ironically, by voting remotely. If you're gonna say you shouldn't force people to stay at home, then at least meet in your regular Supreme Court building to do so. Don't issue something remotely. Yeah, at least since the Trump days, the Supreme Court seems to always side on Trump's side. And it's always the 5 conservative justices, and sadly 2 of them are people Trump himself put on the court. And they're always like, just, oh sure, whatever you want can be legal. Just, we'll hear the case, we'll decide in your favor. And there's not really even a question. And the 4 liberal justices, they're the ones who make sense, but they're always outvoted. And that's not always the case. There have been some cases of at least one of the conservative justices siding with the liberals. Even some of the Trump justices have been siding with the liberals in some cases. But we don't know if that'll happen. But it would be incredibly ironic and horribly stupid if they just decided during a horrible pandemic where tens of thousands of people have died in just America, that no, people shouldn't have to have a right to healthcare coverage. Because that's something Obama made clear, is that universal healthcare should be a right. And I'm pretty sure that at least the elected politicians, I don't know about the justices, but they get universal healthcare simply by being elected, and even if they leave office, they've always got it. But it's not the same exact healthcare that everyone else in this country gets. So, if they're not even getting the same healthcare as the rest of us, or the healthcare coverage, I mean, then are they really at a right to say who can't get healthcare? Because they kept trying to repeal the law based on what? The idea that people shouldn't have a right to healthcare? Is that the idea we're going for? Because, before Obamacare became law, there would be 45,000 people a year who died due to lack of healthcare coverage. And that is way too many people dying because of something that should ultimately be preventable. Because you can get healthcare coverage, and then you'd be covered. And hopefully you wouldn't have to pay too much, but that's ultimately the main issues, is because why do people think they shouldn't be covered? It's like, I mean, everyone should be covered, and it seems like the pre-existing conditions makes people think, oh no, we don't have to cover you. I mean, so what if you were born with autism like every autistic person in the world ever was? They were born with that condition, and suddenly it's like, nope, pre-existing condition, you can't get healthcare coverage. All I'm thinking is, if you don't have a pre-existing condition, then you don't know what it's like to be denied coverage. And has anyone without a pre-existing condition been denied coverage? I mean, I guess there's the whole should you have to work to get healthcare thing, and I can sort of understand needing it. But I can largely understand, no, it's a terrible idea. Because suddenly you might be without work, and then you could lose healthcare coverage on top of this. And this could make people who suffer from anxiety, depression, or anything like that just get even worse. We need coverage, and someone has to pay for it, and I guess maybe that's the problem, is that people don't want to pay for other people's coverage. But it's sort of like, well, do you want to care for other people? Because to me it just seems like Republicans are okay with people dying, because why else would they be okay with people not getting healthcare coverage? At least they're not coming right out and saying, yeah, we want these people to die. But it's like, you shouldn't. And if healthcare coverage can prevent deaths, then you think you should be in favor of healthcare coverage. But no, they're not. And one of the main things I hear in opposition to Obamacare is that people have lost their healthcare coverage because of Obamacare. And that's said so much by conservatives, but I don't think it's true at all. Because if it were true, you'd think we'd be hearing about these people in political ads. You think I'd know the name of at least one person who has lost their healthcare coverage because of Obamacare. But because I have not heard of just one single person who this has happened to, it makes me think the whole idea that people lose their healthcare coverage because of Obamacare is complete bullshit. Because it's like, where's the evidence to prove it's true? Or do you just like saying it a lot and hope people think it's true even though there's not actually evidence to back this up? Because that can happen a lot. Lies are powerful. A lie can make it around the world before the truth gets out the door. Although I don't know who said that. I don't think it was me. There's so many issues with healthcare coverage, but it's like, you want people covered, and otherwise it just seems like you want people to die. And maybe the horrible motive is that, well, they wouldn't have voted for us anyways, and what better way to prevent people from not voting for you than having them die? But maybe they're not that cynical, maybe there are reasons that actually work, but I don't see them. If I want to vote for someone, I'm voting for those in favor of healthcare coverage for everyone, and is okay with pulling their weight, not worrying about where the money will come from, okay with helping people. Because so many people just don't want to help people because, I don't know, they feel people should help themselves, but not everyone can, and then it's sort of like, someone has to make sure things get done. It's not like we can just have all the problems go away by no one doing anything. We need to help each other, and we need to make sure that people have healthcare coverage. So as long as one party is in favor of healthcare coverage and the other party is hell-bent on getting rid of it, I'm voting for the Democrats, since they want to let people be covered by healthcare and not have people without pre-existing conditions like me or tons of other people lose their coverage in unfair ways. 'Cause that's just horrible, wanting people to go without coverage, and it could lead to their deaths. And it's quite an issue, really. And, well, I don't know what else there is to say, as I've talked for long enough now. And maybe I'll bring up other points in other videos. And that is all. Bye.